Hey guys, welcome back to Matthew's Ballistics. So now I've kind of got this dialed back in. I just swapped this scope off a 6.5 Creedmoor and put it on this 223, and then I'm going to there's on the outside of the center dot on this target I got down here. It's about 30 yards. This is just for getting it on paper basically, but I'm going to shoot 5 rounds. And let's see, at the center dot, it's got 4 dots, one above on each side, and so I'm going to shoot 5 rounds, 5 rounds, 5 rounds, and 5 rounds. So the upper 2 dots, I'm going to shoot 5 rounds of, this is Remington 55 grain FMJs at it, and then I'm going to the lower 2 dots, I'm going to shoot 5 rounds at each one of those of my 55 grain Hornadies that I loaded using Hodgson H4198 powder, and these are loaded with 21 grains of H4198, and we're going to compare that to the velocities from the store-bought 55 grain Remingtons. I will say that these 55 grain Remingtons, since I've been shooting them to get it sighted back in, since I swapped scopes, they are running about 3080 to 3090. A couple of them hit like 3120. So there's a couple of them in there that are like way over, or way out, but they're still accurate rounds. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just military grade ball ammo. So I'm gonna get to this, and then once this testing's done, I'll show you the target and what kind of groups I'm holding at basically just 30 yards, which just basically going to be one ragged hole. Then we're going to shoot this guy, and this is a 56 grain monolithic bullet that I spun down from a solid copper round bar stock, and I'm going to see what it does out of this guy. And I'm going to shoot it at the center dot in the center of the target. First dot, we're going to shoot 5 rounds of 55 grain Remington. Pretty windy out here. I hope that's not messing with the audio quality any, but that round was 3,104. The wind is really kicking my target around down there. 3,060. See, there's a pretty big extreme spread on these. But again, they're just store-bought. They're probably about 10 years old. That one was a bit low there at 3,031. And it actually hit low on the paper too. It's 3,092. And the last 5, or the last of this 5, that was 3,003. That was really getting low. Alright, I'm going to go to the other target, shoot 5 more at it, and then we'll go to my ammo. Target number 2. Glad the wind's kind of died down just a little bit. That one was 3,085. That was 3,120. $3,084. You got your hearing protection now?
I haven't fingered it.
$3,171. I think that's the hottest one so far out of this store-bought ammo. And it kind of was a little bit of a flyer. $3,067. I'm shooting the tiny little red dots at the edge of the black square. So now I'm going to shoot 10 rounds of my loads at the bottom two little red dots on the outside of that edge of that black square. Shooting 5 rounds at each one. We'll start on the left side and then shoot the right side. These are my hand loads. $3,037. $3,005. $3,044. $3,003. Last one. $3,016. Now I'm going to shoot the target on the right side with 5 rounds. Whoa. That was 3146. I'm not sure why that one's so hot. I think this gun needs to be cleaned a little bit. $3,086. Chamber's sticky. $3,061. 3040. $377. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting on the 223 to get cool enough to chamber that other round, I'm gonna try zeroing this new scope, and I'm gonna use some Hornady match. This is the 6.5 Creedmoor, the 140 grain ELD mash ammo. And we'll also check the velocity on these too. It says the muzzle velocity should be 2710 on the box. We'll see what it is out of the rifle.
You're low all the way on the white below the bottom green ring.
I think that's just something that come back through the target.
Oh no, you're high.
Yeah, it's a little high. We got 2603 out of that one. So, again, this is a 22-inch barrel, and most of the test barrels that this ammunition is loaded for is usually they use a 26-inch barrel, so it is going to shoot a little bit slower out of a 22-inch barrel. I'm going to bring this down a little, and it's shooting a little to the right, so we're going to bring it left.
Center high green.
Still shooting high, so we're going to bring it down some more. Did about a half a turn there. It's at 30 yards or so, it's shooting about about 5 inches high.
Black.
2,583 feet per second. It looks like these rounds out of this gun are going to be at about that 2,600-ish velocity. So I'm going to go another quarter turn down. Can't really tell on that one.
I think you're right beside the same shot.
Huh. What about that whole low left corner of the red dot? It's so hard to tell. There's so much getting blown back off that plate back through the target. 2611.
You're low black.
Yeah, I got to come up just a little bit and go a little bit left.
And the red on the bottom of it. With it light. You know where that can get? Had a little trouble finding it.
I'm just going to shoot another one, see what happens. This thing to zoom out just a little bit. But I think that's going to be pretty good. I think we'll be able to take that out to the range and do something with it. I set all this wood back here to hopefully keep it from blowing too much trash back through the target, and I think it worked out pretty well. Alright, so I was going to wait until I was back at the house to finish this video, but I just wanted to try to get this video done with before I start on the next part of this project. But so I had some issues for some reason after shooting and re-zeroing the 223 with the new scope on it, which is actually the older scope that originally was on it. Anyways, I was re-zeroing it, and that gun was incredibly dirty. The action was completely like just gummed up, and really should have cleaned it before I even started shooting it. And actually in the video, if you catch it, I did have a couple malfunctions that kind of made me a little nervous shooting it. The lockup on the action being a brake action, it wasn't locking up fully like it was supposed to. It was locking up enough that it actually let the hammer fall and set the round off. But as soon as the round went off, if you catch it in there and watch close enough, that action wasn't locked, and I didn't have to depress the button to unlock the brake action on the rifle, and it actually unlocked without having to unlock it a couple of times, and that was kind of weird. And I, in retrospect, should have not continued firing the gun after the first time that it did that, and I think that happened a total of like 3 times while I was shooting it. But I shot it anyways. Obviously I could have had a major malfunction, but thankfully nothing bad happened and everything shot fine. Also, a weird thing happened was that solid copper round that I was going to test out and going to shoot that I made, actually the day before I did the plunk test and it fit fine in the chamber, and then after shooting about 40 rounds out of the gun, re-zeroing it and then just comparing store-bought ammo to my ammo, that round would no longer chamber. It would go in, but it was still like about I want to say an eighth of an inch shy of being able, an eighth to 3/16 of an inch shy of actually fully chambering in the gun. So we cleaned it really thoroughly and still had the same issue. It still wouldn't fit. So I've got to pull that bullet, or I'm going to take some measurements off of it and compare it to the store-bought ammo to see what's going on. Now I know that rifle has a very tight chambering, and if the bullet doesn't fit just perfectly right in there, it's not going to chamber good. So I'm gonna take some measurements, compare that to some of the rounds that I know fit good, and then I'm going to pull that bullet and reload it. I'm actually going to download it. It's probably safer if I do download it instead of having it just loaded like the same as all my other ammo for 223. And I'm also going to put it in a 223 case instead of a 5.56 case. And the reason why I'm doing this is because also when I was shooting that rifle, I noticed that even though I take all of my 5.56 ammunition and I cut it and I resize it and I trim it down to exactly the same as all the 223 brass. So when I'm taking and cleaning my brass, I usually process my 5.56 brass with my 223 brass, and I measure every piece, and if it's out of the spec for being 223, I trim it down and resize it to 223, and that way I don't have any issues, because you can chamber 223 in 5.56, but you should never try to chamber 5.56 in 223. And so I just try to keep that simple. It's less of a headache if I just take all of my 5.56 and resize it and trim it to 223, so it will work in a 5.56 rifle or a 223 rifle, and I don't have to keep my ammunition separated. So I had some issues with that, and for whatever reason there was some velocity differences. I noticed the 223 rounds were that I had loaded the same 21 grains of H4198, same primers, same bullet seating depth and everything. If I load them in the 223 brass, they fit better in the chamber and they had way more consistent velocities. The extreme spread on the 223 brass that I reloaded was only about 30 feet per second, and when I used the 5.56 brass that again was resized and trimmed and to the exact specs of the 223 brass that I was using, it had greater velocity spread, like over 100 feet per second, or up to 100 feet per second, I think, on the extreme spread. And it also fit a lot tighter in the chamber, and I don't know if that's because the brass is a little tougher, and when I resize it, it's resisting that resizing just enough that it is a little bit bigger, or takes up a little bit more chamber space than the 223 brass, which is probably what the case is. But anyways, so when I redo, and I'm gonna recheck the specs on that bullet that I made, I'm gonna reload it in a 223 brass, and I'm going to download it a little. I'm probably gonna use 19 grains of powder instead of 21, and then, you know, it'll go, I don't know, 2,700 feet per second or something, which is fine. But at least I know it's not gonna be too crazy hot. And then we're gonna test it on a later day. So for now, basically this video was just me re-zeroing my 223 and my 6.5 Creedmoor, which the new scope on the 6.5 Creedmoor, even though it was a cheap scope, and I got it when I bought my 50 cal ammo, and the reason why I got it was because I bought it from I bought my 50 cal ammo from Ammo Depot, and if you spend $200 or more with them, you get free shipping on it. So I was like, well, why not? I only needed to spend another 50 bucks, and they happen to be having on sale a Simmons 8-point, I believe it is a 6 to 18 power scope. It's a, you know, it's got pretty good glass on it for a cheap scope. It's like a $115 scope. I paid $50 for it to add to my order so I could get the free shipping, and I put it on the 6.5 Creedmoor, and holy crap, that thing is amazing. It shoots like one ragged hole. And one other thing I wanted to note about the 6.5 Creedmoor, and we've actually had some conversations with some other people that shoot it and hunt with it, is they were having issues harvesting deer in the past season. Using even hunting rounds, they were having an issue with the round just going straight through the deer and barely making, you know, just a little 6.5 millimeter hole from one side to the other, and they're not expanding. And I noticed when we were shooting, as I had behind my target, I had about a foot of oak wood or whatever stacked up behind it, and those rounds, those ELD match rounds, which are polymer tipped hollow points, they should expand, but they are not, and they are going straight through about a foot of wood, and then they're also going through a 3/8 inch thick steel backstop. I mean, going right through it like a hot knife through butter. And so, and all the other ammunition that I've ever shot at that steel backstop, at the most, all it ever did was put a dent in it. You know, even shooting, I believe my dad's may have even shot his 7 mag in it, and it didn't go through it. But that 6.5 Creedmoor, those bullets, I don't know whether it's a manufacturing issue or something, but they do not expand, and they go straight through the wood, straight through the steel, and into the mound of dirt behind it. And it's like, dude, that 6.5 Creedmoor is a bad bitch. Just want to say that. So I'm gonna get to this later. Later on, I'm gonna film. I'm gonna pull that bullet and check all the measurements, and then reload it, make sure it's gonna fit before I test it, or try to test it. I didn't want to force it into the chamber and then have a problem getting the case back out, or, you know, having a problem with a malfunction. At least, you know, I don't want a catastrophic one. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time in the next video. See ya.